Let's talk about world building. More specifically, let's talk about this world building here. This is N.K. Jemisin's the 5th season, part of the Broken Earth series, and it won a Hugo Award in 2016. And actually, all the other installments of the same series have won Hugo Awards in the next years. So don't take my word for it that it's great. Just take the Hugo Awards, you know. Actually, in my humble personal opinion, untrained opinion, it starts a bit slow, a bit confusing, but whenever you read the word cyanide, things pick up steam pretty fast, and yeah, it's a really great read. Of course, there are many lenses I could use to analyze this world building here. I could talk about the interesting way that things are named in this world. I could talk about the interesting gender dynamics, but here I will choose to focus on a particular feeling this world provoked in me. Here's an important trigger warning. As the book does, this video will mention dreadful things like sexual abuse and torture and dehumanizing scientific experiments, and I will describe them. So if that's something complicated to you, take care of yourself first, okay? This is a world full of injustice, of imbalance in power and abuse of power. But the interesting bit is, most times that I read about those imbalances, the actions that showed that people had different places in society and they could be, you know, pushed and shoved by society, I thought to myself, oh, I want those imbalances to stop. I want this to be illegal. I want these people to be free. I want these people to not have to endure such abuses. But when I gave a second thought to most of those situations, I thought to myself, but this would cause society to collapse, or this would cause mass murder, or there's so much danger in stopping this injustice, just for stopping it. It's, complicated thoughts. More specifically, there are 3 powers that are constantly checking on each other in the story. First is the magic system and the magic users. Second is the rest of society, the non-magical society. And third is the land, the topography, the way that the earth behaves. Those are constantly putting blockages on each other, and many times not in a nice way, sometimes dreadful ways, but they are indeed controlling each other's powers. This is the moment I must inform you, there will be heavy spoilers ahead. I need to talk about specific things in this world building, specific scenes in the book to really analyze it. So if you want to read this book, if you're thinking about reading the book, go read it. Don't watch the video. The spoilers might ruin the book for you. Those are very important scenes. So come back after you read it. Oh, by the way, I'm just talking about the first book, the 5th season, not about the other 2. So those are safe. Oops, it's getting dark. Let me get my other lamp. And we're back. So let's talk about the magic system here. The magic users are called origins, and they have this special thing in their brains that allows them to sense the land, the earth, and to draw power from the earth's heat and movement and life and apply this power elsewhere. And they have a critical function in this world, because this is a world plagued by earthquakes and tsunamis and volcanoes, and origins have the power to stop those things from happening. Even when origins are just babies, they can instinctively stop them. Most origins that survive, more on that later, they end up being trained and essentially raised in a place called the Fulcrum, which is a military, scientific, brainwashy wizard school. And I gotta take my hat off to Jemisin, because, you know, the Mage Tower in the capital of the kingdom is such an overused trope. And still, she managed to create a very interesting wizard school, origin school. And she did so by focusing not really on the classes, not really on the things they were learning. There is a bit of that, but more on the oppressive psychological space that the school creates for the students. So you know that whoever is graduated with that education is gonna be somewhat brainwashed, if not completely, and also Somebody who can withstand a impossible amount of pressure. Just, yeah, very much not Hogwarts. The Fulcrum is the place that Origins go to have their skills trained, the magical skills trained. Yes, that's super important, but also it's the place they go to be tamed. It's the only place that an Origin can become somewhat accepted by the rest of society. And this is important because Origins are walking atomic bombs. They are so powerful. They can destroy thousands, millions of lives in a moment. And very few forces in this world can put their power into check. They are so powerful and they are connected to so many tragedies in the past that the rest of society, the non-magical society, fears and loathes them. This society is divided into castes, and those castes sort of define what you can and should do and what you will learn, your education and all of your paradigms. So if you're from the innovator caste, you will learn about technical things and you will probably be some sort of engineer or technician or mechanic. And if you're from the leadership caste, your education will be about manipulation and psychology and sociology and how to move masses. You might think that Origin would be a caste in the system, right? After all, they get a specific education and a worldview and paradigms. And in certain instances of the book, it is treated that way, but there's always an awkwardness there because Origins are seen as less than human. Origins are weapons or tools. They are something to be feared. They're not part of society. They just, yeah, sure, solve this problem here. We'll pay the fulcrum, but please leave. You're not part of this world of mine. We're people. You're not. When Origins are dealing with Origins, they seem to find a footing there. As much as they created this super military structure, they're able to collaborate and teach each other and raise each other, even like each other. When the rest of society is without Origins, they have their own order to do things. They seem to prosper and have kids and be happy. The problem is when those two powers meet and the social, political, societal structures that are created in the collapse of those two universes. Now we're gonna go for one of those big spoilers, alright? There are things called the nodes. Those are small Origin stations, not part of the Fulcrum, like spread around the land, but supervised by the Fulcrum. And the character believes that there must be a really bored Origin inside each of them, taking care of the eventual earthquake or tsunami around and having this really boring life. And for the most chunk of the book, you believe in this because you don't have any other perspective on the matter until the point that this character visits a node. And the nodes are basically this horrible experiment place in which you grab a child that could not show control over their orogenic powers, and you transform them into a tool. You sedate that child, you strap them to a chair, they lose consciousness, and you stick a tube for their waist, and you stick another tube to pump food into them, and basically you turn a human into a machine. And the only thing that still seems to operate in that mind is the instinctive ability that all Origins have to control the earthquakes. And but yeah, it's a brutal, horrible thing. It's a horrible description of how it behaves. And worse still, when the characters find this out, they find out that actually there was sexual abuse going on with that person that was already in that. This is one of those injustice moments in the book that you're disgusted by it. You're like, oh my god! Anything that can be done to stop this horrible abuse of power should be done. Anything, really. And you get angry. And the characters in the book also get angry. And the characters in the book are angry origins. This is a story about origins. So of course you cheer for them. You're following their steps, you're feeling their pains. And they feel a lot of pain. And they manifest this pain. And they kill a lot of people. The main characters, they are the vector of horrible mass murders as the book progresses. So then you're forced to agree that they need to have some sort of leash around them, because these people are dangerous. They kill so many people in a world in which like surviving is complicated. It's a harsh world, and they are the biggest disaster of all. Even in one of the first scenes of the book, people finally found out that the main character is an origin. So an angry woman comes and tries to kill her. And in response, she kills a lot of people and she destroys the underground source of water. So she guarantees that this village could never again exist. Like, it's such an unfair power. She kills so much people that you end up thinking, God, I wish she had died instead of this, you know? But these people are only alive to have this conflict in the first place because the main character saved them from a horrible earthquake that would have destroyed the whole village in the first place. The world will crumble without origins because of the earthquakes. So it's a system of locked powers. Eliminating the origins is an impossibility, because if they're gone, everything is gone. But at the same time, if you don't put a leash on them, they can become horrible tyrants, capable of destroying entire populations in the blink of an eye. Even eliminating the nodes, this disgusting, dehumanizing experiment, would kill so much people. These people rely on the nodes to stop the earthquakes. If you just put a person there, this is so prone to error. The person might leave, might be bored, might decide to be a despot, a tyrant for that region. It's complicated. And it's cool that it's so complex. It feels like real life, real society. Society is full of those conflicting powers and abuses of power that you want to stop. But when you just flip the rules, you change how society behaves, it often comes with a lot of death, with bloody revolutions, with the destruction of basic infrastructure. It's not simple, and it's powerful. It's cool. It's interesting that world building can evoke this complexity that exists in the real world, and it gives me all those interesting and sort of distressing thoughts. Let me give you a horrible thought experiment. Okay, it's going to be horrible. This is a warning. Imagine that there is something like the nodes. It's a dehumanizing, horrible experiment that transforms somebody into something. Okay? Would you put the scum of society there, like a serial killer that killed a lot of people, or a torturer that finds pleasure in torturing people? Okay. Would you put them there if that could save hundreds of lives? Would you put them there if that could save millions, 100 million lives? Would you put a child if he would save 100 million lives? Would you put your child if he could save 100 million lives? I don't know, but something stirred inside of me because of this book. I don't have the answers. I don't think anybody would, but it really... even if it's uncomfortable, the clogs inside my brain are spinning. Even that comparison with the atomic bombs I made earlier about the origins, imagine a world in which you need atomic bombs for something very essential for survival, like purifying the air or the water. And then suddenly you have this world in which all countries have the power to wipe out the planet. How long until a leader, a stupid, completely narcissistic leader will press the red button? How long until the total collapse of society and mass murder? This is the sort of thought this book provokes me. That's the point of art, right? Is to provoke us, is to add wood to this pyre of feelings and thoughts and all the other things we don't know how to name but live inside of us. And even if my thoughts are distressing, and they are, I am grateful for them. I feel my mind is a tiny bit bigger just because I read this book. And I think that a lot of it comes from this complex, thought-provoking world building that could inspire many writers, not only me. And I haven't even explored the whole complexity of this world. I didn't even talk about the Guardians and the Stone Eaters. There are things I didn't even mention. So, yeah, perhaps in another video. That's it for today's video. Thank you for your attention. I'm planning on other world building explorations just like this one. So if you have a favorite world, a favorite universe you'd like me to give a look, please write down on YouTube's comments. It can be, of course, a book, but also a movie or a video game. I'm interested also in other mediums to have a broader look at other world buildings. That's it. Thank you again for sticking around. Let me know your favorite worlds. And see you. Ciao.